A very good evening and you're welcome to TBC News Bulletin. My name is Agnes Tuniga and first, our headlines. Engineers in Africa urge to implement projects considering climate change.
I think there is need to review some elements of the FIDIC project template.
SGR ready to kick off from Dar es Salaam to Dodoma.
We have an international standard we have to comply with.
Good evening once again. I'm Agnes Tuniga, and you can also follow us live on our YouTube channel, TBConline, and also get all the latest news through our Instagram, Facebook, and X pages at TBConline. The Vice President of the United Republic of Tanzania, Dr. Philip Mpango, has called on consulting engineers in Africa to ensure that projects implemented consider climate change in order to avoid effects caused by those changes in various infrastructures. He made the call in Dar es Salaam while officiating the 30th Federation of Consulting Engineers Infrastructure Conference Africa, FIDIC, themed innovations and infrastructure development for sustainable projects. Rehema Sebabili has more.
It is the official opening of the FIDIC Africa Infrastructure Conference here in Dar es Salaam, which provides a forum for consulting engineers across Africa to discuss issues affecting the sector and find solutions. Officiating the conference in Dar es Salaam, Vice President Dr. Philip Mpango says Africa is still facing various challenges in implementing strategic projects, including projects being implemented below standards and others not being completed on time.
I think there is need to review some elements of the FIDIC project template. In particular, the template seems to be inadequate when it comes to guaranteeing accountability for mistakes and weaknesses of consulting engineers. And this loophole apparently leaves room for negligence and subsequent failures to complete projects on schedule and with the right quality, and thereby generating immense losses to the client, including governments.
On his part, the president of FIDIC Africa, Engineer Abetele, says only 30% of Africa's rural roads are accessible, adding that according to the African Development Bank, AFDB, Africa needs about 170 billion US dollars a year to revise the narrative.
For addressing these challenges calls for innovation and innovative solutions to ensure sustainable development. For Africa and her people to derive maximum benefits from the provision and maintenance of infrastructure in our continent, innovation must apply across the entire value chain that deliver infrastructure.
The Tanzania consulting engineers are benefiting immensely from the various services offered by FIDIC, including internationally adopted and tested conditions of contracts. In Tanzania, most of major projects makes use of FIDIC condition of contracts. One will easily be inclined to believe that the users of FIDIC condition of contracts are only engineers, but in reality, they are being used by various other professionals, including lawyers.
The ratio of consulting firms to contractors in Tanzania, standing at a ratio of 1 to 34, suggests a potential imbalance in the construction industry. While there is no universal optimal ratio ensuring a healthy balance between contractors and the consulting firms is essential for supporting the country's development objectives.
Some topics discussed in the conference includes building smart infrastructure through digitalization, green energy and eco-friendly advancement, and infrastructure investment and financing. Reporting from Dar es Salaam, Rehema Sebabili, TBC News.
The Director General of Tanzania Railways Corporation, TRC, Masanja Kadogosa, says that The standard gauge railway SGR project is ready to start operations of the journey from Dar es Salaam to Dodoma. Kadogosa made the remarks during the trial session route with officials from the Ministry of Transport earlier today. Peter Mganga has the following report.
It is a trial trip from Dar es Salaam to Morogoro that took about 2 hours. Here, the Director General of Tanzania Railways Corporation, Masanja Kadogosa, explains how they have planned to start the trip by the end of July this year.
We have our own way of measuring, where we can be able to say, okay, I think the tolerance is within the standard. Because everything we are doing here, we have an international standard we have to comply with. So it's not something you think about, it's something you comply. Yeah, so we are very comfortable.
On his part, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Transport, Professor Gorius Kayarara, explains the government's strategies in taking care of the resources available on the SGR train.
As government, we want to make sure that this standard is really observed. We really urge all the Tanzanians, so the passengers who will be using these services and other customers to ensure that they maintain the standards, because we will have what we call carrots and sticks to make sure that really the standards are adhered to. This is a standard gauge railway. It's one of the biggest projects since independence. It's a flagship project. As a government, we will make sure that it really reflects its standards.
It was a nice journey from Dar es Salaam to Morogoro, while it approximated that more than 500 passengers are expected to be accommodated by SGR train. This is one among the best projects of the government of Tanzania under the leadership of President Samia Suluhu Hassan. The management of TRC, they are confident enough to introduce route from Dar es Salaam to Dodoma. Reporting from Morogoro, Peter Mganga, TBC News.
Thank you very much, Peter Mganga, for that well-detailed report. The Tanzania Meteorological Authority has issued a statement on climate outlook from June to August 2024, which indicates that cooler to normal sea surface temperatures are expected over the central equatorial Pacific Ocean, indicating the transition to La Nina conditions, especially towards the end of the season. Here are more details.
We thought it important to streamline our business processes by ensuring that
this condition is expected to have less influence on precipitation-making mechanism in the country. On the other hand, the existing warmer than normal sea surface temperatures over the western part of the Indian Ocean, that is alongside the East African coast, are likely to persist as compared to the eastern part of the Indian Ocean. This condition is expected to enhance precipitation-making mechanism along the coast and nearby areas. According to the Tanzania Meteorological Authority's statement, low-level winds are likely to occasionally blow from Congo forests toward the western parts of the country, a condition expected to slightly enhance the precipitation-making mechanisms, especially over the northern Kigoma areas and the Lake Victoria Basin. Whereas the southern subtropical high-pressure systems are expected to slightly intensify during the season. Hence, occasional strong southerly winds are expected. During this season, diseases related to cold weather, such as pneumonia and livestock diseases, may occur. Additionally, dusty conditions driven by winds in some areas could cause the outbreak of eye and other related diseases. Shortage of water and pastures are likely. Health precautions should be taken to protect the community against diseases that can be caused by cold weather and dust. Due to mainly dry conditions over many areas during this season, water and pasture should be used sparingly and carefully to mitigate the expected impacts. Livestock keepers should continue to adhere to schedules of deeping livestock to control pests and diseases and follow the advice of experts. Furthermore, farmers are encouraged to grow vegetables and root crops such as potatoes are appropriate. Faida Ngaga, TBC News, Dar es Salaam.
The Deputy Minister of Investment, Industry and Trade, Exaudi Kigahe, has said that the joint investment will open opportunities for small investors, especially those with low incomes, to develop themselves economically and raise the national GDP. He made the remarks during the launch event of the Timiza Fund joint system in Dar es Salaam, where doing so will help fulfill the government's ambition to achieve the national development vision.
This is a solution for small-scale entrepreneurs who are not able to invest in large investment funds, but at least now they'll be able to save up for their capital and other needs such as education and health.
On the other hand, the Director of Research and Development Issues, CMCA, has said that the investment will help the government to obtain funds to finance various development projects.
Investment opportunities for everyone, because even the minimum amount for investment is only 10,000 shillings. We can start saving and investing little by little through professional managed fund, and you'll be able to get a reasonable return.
However, the chairman of the board from Zan Securities Limited, Abdis Salam Khatib, has said that joint investment will help to increase the culture and motivation of investment in saving and bring competition in increasing the country's GDP. In a series of reports on Africa Day, the Mauritius Broadcasting Corporation team zoomed in on the colonization of the African continent. However, the decolonization process of Mauritius remains incomplete, hence the firm position of the African Union for the return of the Chagos archipelago to Mauritius. Valerie Kali reports from Mauritius.
In May 1963, decolonization topped the issues list, drawing focus of the then Organization of African Unity. The independent heads of state and government declared that its members had the duty to support in their struggle for freedom and independence the peoples of Africa who had not yet achieved independence. The wait will last until the mid-70s, 74, 75, for the process to be wrapped up with Angola, Morocco, Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde. 18 years later, the African Charter on Human and People's Rights confirms that African states are aware of their responsibility to fully free Africa, empowering this firm stand adopted by the African Union for an advisory opinion from the International Court of Justice on the consequences of the separation of the Chagos archipelago from Mauritius in 1965.
A yes vote will be a vote in favor of the principles of the UN Charter that continue to guide the organization effort in the principle of self-determination. The UN cannot continue to ignore Mauritius' cry for justice.
The draft resolution supported by the member states of the African Union will be put to the vote, and its impact will be historic.
As you can see, the result of the vote is as follows. Those in favor, 94. Draft resolution A/71/L73 is adopted.
Strengthened by this verdict of the polls, the Chagos dossier will once again be endorsed by the African continent before the International Court of Justice in The Hague. In its plea, the AU affirmed that the dismemberment of Mauritius by the United Kingdom has constituted a violation of international law to the extent that it violated the right to self-determination of the people of Mauritius, including the Chagosians. This right remains crushed until today due to the ongoing administration of the Chagos archipelago by the United Kingdom.
Yes, we have unflinching support to Mauritius as a member state of the Union to gain its full independence. That is why we took part in the advisory opinion from the beginning until the end. It's historic for the African Union because it is the first time the African Union stands before the Court of Justice in order to defend the right of one of its member states.
Even if Mauritius' sovereignty over the Chagos is long overdue, Mauritius acknowledges the weight that the African continent shapes in its fight. Moreover, during the last summit of heads of state and government in Ethiopia, the country, through the voice of the Prime Minister, Pravin Kumar Jagnnath, expressed its deep gratitude to the African Union member states for their unwavering strength shared in its long-term and relentless struggle to complete its decolonization process.
The United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, Deputy Representative to Tanzania, Sergio Valdin, said they will continue to support innovations which create new solutions and job opportunities to youth and women for sustainable future development of Tanzania. Speaking during the Tanzania Digital Award 2024 ceremony in Dar es Salaam, Valdin pointed out that the innovation which brings power of technology to transform people's life should be supported, while winners of the award say they are committed to make innovations that drive people's life.
We need to recognize this role the key role of driving economy, and embracing digital technology means for individual and community open up to new market, to new opportunities, and that is where UNDP wants to be, to drive progress, to drive steps towards a more development and sustainable future.
Testament to what can be achieved with vision and perseverance. I encourage you to continue pushing boundaries, exploring new frontiers, and using your skills to contribute to the prosperity of our nation.
Your dedication and commitment have been instrumental in making this event a success. Your belief in the power of digital technologies to transform lives and communities is the driving force behind Tanzania Digital Awards.
Tanzania Digital Award 2024 took place to end the Week of Innovation exhibition, whereby Tanzanian scientists displayed their innovation towards sustainable development in the digital economy. Before we wind up our local news tonight, let us now have a look at today's exchange rates according to the Bank of Tanzania, BOT. Well, don't miss TBC News every weekday to know all the latest in exchange rates. When we come back, it will be time for the latest in international news. And now it's international news as compiled and read by Nyambona Masamba.
Officials in Papua New Guinea have reported reaching a letter to the United Nations saying 2,000 people were buried alive in a landslide on Friday. The number is up than a previous estimated of 670 killed. It happened in remote Jambari village in the North Enga province. There are warning of further collapses are expected in the area. Ongoing efforts have been complicated by debris and dangerous terrain. Reports from Papua New Guinea says it's too soon to say definitive death toll at this stage. This is very much a developing situation, but the letter might reveal to the audience a gradual picture of the scope of the devastation caused by Friday's landslide. To East Asia. In Bangladesh, meanwhile, 3 people have been killed in a powerful storm cyclone Rimal made landfall on Saturday, falling on villages, damaging infrastructure. About 1,800,000 people have been forced to leave their homes in neighboring eastern India. At least one person was killed in a state of West Bengal. Among of those dealing with the impact of the storm are thousands of Rohingya fleeing violence in Myanmar's Rohingya state. The UN says about 45,000 Rohingya have been forced from their homes since fighting between the military and rebel groups started in November. Many have crossed the border to Bangladesh. to Africa. In South Africa, the first vote in country's election are being cast through special ballot. Parties had their final campaign rallies across the country on Sunday. Election staff are visiting more than 600,000 homes to collect votes from people who can't make it to polling stations. The rest of the country will vote on Wednesday. For many South African, power cut is a single big problem in the country. Outrages are blamed on the engine infrastructure, corruption, and poor management of the national electricity provider. In the last few years, the power cut, which began more than 16 years ago, have only worsened, with some areas without power for up to 10 hours a day. To Asia, leaders from China, Japan, and South Korea are in South Korea capital for a rare trilateral meeting, which many hope will easily draw regional tensions. Chinese Premier Li Chang, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol, and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida are discussing North Korea tensions of Taiwan and trade. The trilateral meeting is meant to be held every year, but hasn't been for the past 4.5 years because of the pandemic, a point that was made by the host, South Korean President Yook, on his opening and closing remarks. Talking about the importance of this meeting and coming up with various proposals for closer economic and trade cooperation, saying that it will help to improve the livelihood of people. And lastly, to Middle East. The 3 European countries set to recognize Palestine as a state on Tuesday have condemned Israel's ongoing attacks on Rafah. At the joint news conference in Brussels, the Foreign Minister of Ireland, Norway, and Spain spoke about the need for two-state solution to the conflict. They also accused Israel of breaching international humanitarian law by refusing to stop attacks on Rafah.
That was the international news. Sports news up next. And in sports news, Simba Sports Club head coach Juma Mgunda says they are ready to face JKT Tanzania in a do-or-die match as they fight to finish second in Tanzania Premier League and qualify for CAF Champions League next season. Mgunda added that players are ready to fight to the last drop of their blood to beat JKT Tanzania and take all 3 points as they want to finish on top of Azam FC.
Tunajua umuhimu wa mechi ya kesho.
We know the importance of our game tomorrow. We as Simba have prepared well for that game to make sure that despite doing well, at the end we get best results. In psychology, all players knows what we need tomorrow. So we have given priority to all things and consider that we as Simba Sports Club, we need to qualify.
Simba ties with Azam FC, having both played 29 matches, collecting 66 points, but Azam FC is ahead of Simba due to goals difference that makes the match very interesting to watch tomorrow. The Iringa Region Motor Racing Club, IMSC Chairman Amjad Khan, says the National Motor Racing Championship this year will be used to promote tourist attractions in the region. Khan added that the National Motor Racing Championship that will take place from June 8th to June 9th in the Iringa region is part of the opening up economic opportunities and promoting tourism attractions to encourage Tanzanians to do domestic tourism.
What we use that in motorsport, we also join tourism to promote our region, like Iringa region, to promote our national parks, which are in Iringa. Also, we have historical sites like Mkwawa, Isimila Stone Age, because, you know, once the rally is happening, there's so many things are going on, like from the hotels, like the fuel stations, like those mamantilias. So everyone is in business.
And before we wind up our news bulletin for tonight, let's now take a look at our weather forecast for the next 24 hours.
Good evening, dear viewers. This is 24 hours weather forecast starting at 9 p.m. tonight from Tanzania Meteorological Authority, My name is Desderi Moses. Wind is expected to flow at a speed of 30 kilometers per hour over Lake Victoria, Lake Tanganyika, together with Lake Nyasa. While for the entire coastal strip of Indian Ocean, wind is expected to flow at a speed of 50 kilometers per hour. Tanzania Meteorological Authority has issued a warning of strong winds exceeding 40 kilometers per hour and large ocean waves exceeding 2 meters over the entire coastal strip of Indian Ocean in the regions of Dar es Salaam, Tanga, Pwani including Mafia Isles, Lindi and Mtwara regions, together with Unguja and Pemba Isles. People living in those areas are advised to take necessary precautions. And tonight, dear viewers, it is our expectation that the entire country to feature partly cloudy condition, while for tomorrow, Mara region together with Kagera region are expected to feature part cloud condition, thunderstorms over a few areas and sunny period, and the rest part of the country is expected to be mainly dry. And now let's have a look of the 4 days weather forecast for some regions in our country. That's all for tonight. Until next time, good night.
And that weather update marks the end of our news bulletin for tonight. Our Kiswahili news bulletin is at 11 p.m. Throughout, I've been your host, Agnes Tuniga. Thank you very much for being with us. Good night.